Friends, today's NRI Samay program from Los Angeles brought to you commercial free by listeners like you. Your generous donations make possible for us to stay commercial free, and today's show is pre-recorded. If you have a question for the guest, please send an email to nrisamay@gmail.com. We will follow up with the guest and find the answer for you. Thank you for your support.
Friends, this is Srihari, your host for today's show. Welcome back to NRI Samay. Friends, the election fever series continues on NRI Samay. We are going to start with introducing a few of the first-time contenders for the Lok Sabha elections. This week we are bringing two Aam Aadmi Party candidates. First of them is Professor Babu Mathew. Babu has taught law at University Law College, Bengaluru, and served as a faculty member of the National Law School for 15 years. He was Professor, Registrar, and Chair of Juvenile Justice Studies. He founded the Center for Child and the Law at the Law School. He is the former Country Director for Action Aid India. He has been the Vice President of the Trade Union International affiliated to the World Federation of Trade Unions. Babu has contributed immensely to labor law reforms, child rights, human rights, legal reforms, and in protecting the rights of the working people, and provided his expertise as a subject expert to several international universities. He has also been a negotiator to settle several disputes for the trade unions. Welcome to NRI Samay, Babu Mathew. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Sir, it is nice to have you. I know you're busy with the elections and campaigning, but we are happy that you are taking time to spend with us and our listeners.
I'm also very happy to be able to interact with all our NRI friends, and I look forward to this interview.
Okay, excellent. Sir, to begin with, could you please tell us how your campaigning is going so far?
Our campaigning is going on very well. You may know that we have a very big constituency, but we are going from one end of the constituency to the other. We use different ways of campaign. Now, as we come closer to the election day, we use road shows, we use padayatras, we use the media. The local TV channels have been very helpful. We use the social media. We use pamphlets which are distributed through newspaper distributors. We use different Sabha meetings, Lok Sabha meeting type. And so it's multiple, processes of campaigning which are going on.
That is excellent. Can you give maybe some more details about how far are you able to reach the people and how much more to go, or what are your challenges, kind of thing?
Well, this is a constituency which is divided into 8 assembly constituencies. And so in each of the 8 assembly constituencies, we have our assembly campaign offices. And each of those offices is further divided into ward committees. And then we try and use that in order to simultaneously carry on with our campaign. The strongest point of our campaign is the availability of volunteers who work out of conviction for Aam Aadmi Party. There is not a single paid volunteer. In the Indian electioneering scenario, that is a very rare thing. My rivals, the Congress Party and the BJP, are my major rivals. They cannot get a single person to work without paying them huge sums of money. What is astonishing, when we go throughout our constituency, we do not find any campaigners of the Congress or the BJP. This is something which is very surprising to us. We are trying to understand, and the only understanding we can come to is that they believe only in the last 3 or 4 days, and that is during the nights they will use what we call as pudaris. These are the agents. These middlemen will take money and channelize it, and they try to pay 1,000 rupees per vote at the minimum to the voters. They are hoping to win on that basis. but they do not realize that there is an Aam Aadmi Party wave in our country. There is a mood shift. I can see it every day in our constituency. And so the people are not going to be fooled this time, and I think both the parties are in for a surprise.
That is excellent. So what is your volunteer base? How many volunteers approximately? I don't need exact details. I'm just trying
We have nearly 300.
I'm trying to get a sense of what it takes for a person who is not heavily dependent on money politics, but purely on the voluntary-based politics.
You see, in terms of those who work almost full-time for us, morning to evening, evening is a wrong word, morning to late night, we have in all our assembly constituencies put together about 300 volunteers of that nature. Wow. But what is even more encouraging is when we go into the constituency, every constituency there are groups of people who come up voluntarily, young people, women, who are willing to volunteer from the community level to help in our campaign process. So there is no shortage of volunteers.
That is absolutely amazing. How are you connected with this constituency, Bengaluru North constituency that you are contesting?
Well, I came to Bangalore in 1972, and from 75 I have been in the trade union movement. And the trade union movement naturally picked up in the areas of early industrialization in Bangalore. And so those areas, they are called Yashwantapur, Dasrahalli, Peenya, Malleshwaram, K.R.Puram. These are all places where a large number of workers reside. I have been the president of the Bharat Electronics Employees Union and the president of various small-scale and big public sector unions. So I have extensive contacts across. Moreover, I was a professor of law, first at the University Law College in Bangalore from 1972, and thereafter as a professor and registrar of the National Law School of India University in Bangalore. And so I have my contacts among the intelligentsia, among cultural activists, among women, among youth, among students. And so that's a widespread canvas of supporters, because I have been in Bangalore for now almost 40 years.
That's amazing. It's hard to find people who have background as an educator and also who is dealing with these trade unions and who led the trade unions. And also I understand that you were able to negotiate and settle a lot of the issues that the trade unions are facing.
Yes, indeed. As all of us know, workers like to join trade unions, and if they don't get their demands, they also like to go on strike. But there is no worker who does not want a settlement after the strike. And I have therefore given a lot of importance to arriving at settlements. And I have signed I don't know how many settlements with management. So workers, their wages have been increased and the management have had higher production and productivity. And so it's been a gain for all those who are involved.
Excellent. And since you are an educator, I'll ask you about some of the educational type of questions. What is the what does the Aam Aadmi Party manifesto say about the education and how the importance of the education?
Yes, Aam Aadmi Party is one of those parties which recognizes that school education is extremely important. And we have not only said that in our manifesto, but we have also already practiced it in Delhi during the few days when we were in power. We realized that if you want to extend education, you must above all understand that there are 11 lakh government schools in India. There are very few countries in the world which will have such an extensive mechanism of school education. But unfortunately, those schools don't work. And so our major demand is how to make the government school function. There are enough of private schools in India, but that is for the privileged people. the children of the excluded, the children of the Dalits, of the tribals, and of the Muslim population, and of the urban poor. Those children do not have a decent school to go to. And even those workers who get minimum wages, they will do whatever is possible in order to try and put a child in a private school. That we do not encourage. We want our government schools to function. And for that, it is not as if government doesn't know how to make the school function. But there is a propaganda that only the private schools will run. Our answer to that is, please look at the Kendriya Vidyalayas. Kendriya Vidyalaya is government-owned. It is managed by the government. But it is meant for the children of the IAS officers or children of the army. So when it comes to those children, they know how to make a government school function. But if it is the children of slum dwellers and tribal people and Muslim population, then the excuse is, oh, it's a government school, it cannot run. So we reject that argument. There is no political will to make a government school run. If you put that effort, government schools will run and all our children will go for school education.
Excellent. Another question about education. So how do you think Aam Aadmi Party can make a difference in the problem that you just explained?
Well, it is very consistent with the book which Arvind has written called Swarajya. In that book, the primary thing is you must empower the local community. You must go down to the base level. And so if you want to make a government school function, then you must create what we call the school development and monitoring committees. And that should consist of the parents of the school-going children. And they should have the right to elect their own body. And that body should be connected with the local Panchayati Raj. And that body must have the power to monitor the school. And so if a teacher does not turn up in school, the local committee should be able to ask, why have you not come? They should have the power to decide whether the salary should be paid or the salary should be cut. In other words, this system of government administration must become answerable to the people's committees. And that is not only for education but for everything in India. And we believe in promoting that. And in our case, that is consistent with the broader philosophical approach that we have, namely to promote, participation from below.
Excellent, sir. One more question about Aam Aadmi Party policy and maybe your personal beliefs as well. As far as women's issues are concerned, the women's are one of the issues is they don't own property in India, especially, or they very less comparative to what men owns as property, and even how they are paid versus the economic freedom. In other words, is very less for them. So, what is the plans of you or Aam Aadmi Party in terms of how do you plan to empower women and make them more feel safer and have some economic independence?
Yes, we must admit that the grip of patriarchy across all institutions, across all ideologies, across all political parties is very strong even now in India, and Aam Aadmi Party is not an exception to that. Yet, thanks to the participation of women's groups, etc., Aam Aadmi Party is also getting slowly transformed and responding to women's issues. Therefore, now already there is a lot of emphasis on security of women. If the question of security is relevant for a girl child who goes to school, why girl child? It begins with feticide itself. But then there are also working women in every part of India who are, under threat when they have to return to their homes after working hours. We have seen that in the Nirbhaya case. And that is true in every city. And so there are special measures required for that. Apart from that, there are a large number of working women, especially in the informal sector, among construction workers, among street vendors, among small enterprises. There is our workforce. The workforce of India has crossed 500 million. And out of those 500 million, 93% are in the informal sector. And out of that 93%, almost half are self-employed. And the other half consists of wage laborers. So their issues are of a specific nature. Above all, they need social security. They need minimum wages. They need the right to organize. They need maternity benefit. They need to be given protection from sexual harassment at work. So there's a whole range of issues. You must remember the Indian civil society is a very rich and powerful civil society. There are different kinds of social movements. So if you take all those knowledges together, then there is no shortage of understanding. We need honest people who are committed in order to implement them. So if AAP can send a few people to Parliament, then that will be the beginning of this journey.
Excellent, excellent. Let me switch to a different topic. Probably you like it. The entrance of the multinationals in the retail sector, the FDI, in other words, in the retail sector, I think AAP is opposing it. They have opposed it in Delhi, and I think that's their policy. But they also said that they are open. They are not opposing FDI in principle. I think they will consider case by case. Can you expand on this policy, please?
Yes, I'm one of those who is also convinced that FDI in multi-brand retail is not what India needs now. Because I mentioned to you that almost half of the informal sector is self-employed. One major method of self-employment is that there is a backward linkage and a forward linkage. Backward linkage in the sense that vegetables and the commodities are grown by the small farmers and they find their way into a wholesale market. And from that wholesale market, there are individuals, very poor individuals who are daily workers in a sense. They go and pick it up from the wholesale market and then they carry it in their small carts. I think there is no country in the world where you can get fresh vegetables delivered at your doorstep. So in my view, that is a very advanced system of economic making available commodities at people's doorstep. You can improve on that. And, there is an organization called National Street Vendors Association of India. They have already succeeded in getting legislation in their favor. So if we work with all that, we can even have organic food grown in cooperative farms and delivered at the doorstep of people. So if you want to do that, then it is easy to organize that in different ways. So I think that's the reason why it's the equivalent of what you call mom and pop shops or something in the USA. Yeah. So we don't want those opportunities to be deprived. Then on the other hand, FDI, yes, in other areas, that's a matter about which policy has yet to develop. But our view is that so long as it brings in more productive capacity, so long as it generates more employment, then on a case-by-case basis, we will have to examine it as and when the situation arises.
Yeah, you mentioned about National Association of Street Vendors. Actually, Arvind, I think his name is Arvind, if I remember correctly. He is head of this organization. He was on NRI Samay recently. And we were discussing about the FDI entrance. When the bill was passed, so we had Ashwin Mahesh and Arvind were they were debating on both.
Okay. Then I shouldn't have spoken so much. They are the experts on this subject.
No, that's not what I meant. I just reminded me that we had.
No, I understand.
But I think some of the argument about actually, I don't think it's right to say that they are more experts than you. Just for the record, I want to say that, but because I want to continue this discussion.
I understand.
Some of the issues that you brought up, which is the issues of the rural folks and the minorities and Dalits and so far. If we go to the rural areas, I think there's discrimination which happens even now predominantly, probably even in urban areas. And one of the arguments is the organized sector, which is brought by the FDIs, will in a way eradicate these differences, and more people will be able to have some kind of a secure jobs. What do you say for that?
Well, it is true that employment in industrialization has its advantages. If you look at the factory canteen, you may not see the caste system that is being practiced at the dining table. But that is only a superficial thing. The same workers, when they go back to their villages, may practice discrimination between two groups of village, workers coming from a Dalit background and workers coming from upper caste. So on the one hand, yes, industrialization helps. But on the other hand, the social discriminatory practices are far deeper, and they lie embedded in rural India, and they then cross rural India borders and get into urban India. And so yes, caste system is not an easy thing to fight, and we'll have to understand Dr. Ambedkar's teachings on this. Annihilation of caste is the best thesis that we have read on that. And so we have to use Ramanavar Lohiya's ideas, and there are, in every region, there is a Dalit leader who has become an icon, like Periyar in Tamil Nadu, like Srinath Narayanaguru in Kerala, like Basavanna in Karnataka, so Phule in Maharashtra. There are many Dalit leaders, intellectuals. So that's a social revolution, and the social revolution, as you know, is a far more difficult revolution than an economic revolution. That was the observation of Dr.
I can't quote anybody, but I heard some of the Dalit leaders endorsing the FDI in retail. Have you heard anything like that?
Yes, initially I also came across some Dalit intellectuals who had that opinion. But through internal debate among the Dalit leaders, the consensus by and large now is that we must be aware of the dangers of the new economic policy of neoliberalism. So if you look for the overall general consensus, there is an understanding that neoliberalism is not a panacea against the caste system.
I see. Excellent. I want to get back to the campaign and how you are running. You mentioned that all of the volunteers are unpaid volunteers, which is great.
Yes.
But what does it mean as somebody who is running the campaign purely on the clean money, which is all recorded on the Aam Aadmi Party website? You don't get, I believe you're not accepting any other types of monies, which is not recorded on the Aam Aadmi Party website. So can you tell me briefly, what are the types of expenses that you incur, even if you don't have to pay for the volunteers?
Yes, we incur expenditure on, above all, propaganda literature, propaganda material. We have to print thousands of leaflets. Thousands is a wrong word. Many thousands, lakhs of leaflets and distribute. Apart from that, our very favorite item for distribution is the Aam Aadmi cap. So we make available these caps, and we distribute it to all those who come forward to wear the cap. Those are the two major kinds of expenditures. Apart from that, we have transport-related expenditure, and then we have a sound system requirement. In every assembly constituency, we have to have sound systems, which involves purchase of equipment. Then we also use auto rickshaws. In every assembly constituency, there are public announcements. So those are the kinds of expenditure. The Election Commission allows 70 lakhs per constituency, and we don't need, even half of that is my initial assessment, with only less than 2 weeks to go. But certainly we need money. For us, even 35 lakhs is a very big sum of money. And we are raising that through appeals. And whatever money we get, we put up on our website. So there is absolutely no scope for black money to enter our campaign. Every pie will be accounted, both in terms of income and in terms of expenditure. And that itself will be a major revolution in the Indian political campaign system. Whether we win or lose, people will remember that there is another kind of a campaign which can be done. And hopefully they will use our broom in order to beat those people who come to distribute money to them in the night.
That is a very good thing. And also, have you decided about the who's going to stay at the booth level volunteers on the day of the elections?
Yeah, that is truly a much more difficult issue. We are in the process of setting up booth committees. Booth committees will partially consist of our full-time volunteers, and above all, we will identify people from the community. And it is they. In any case, it is the mood in favor of our people and in favor of our party which will make the difference. So it will be people who will have to exercise vigilance over the electioneering system in order to be successful.
Excellent. And I know Aam Aadmi Party is one of the parties which did manifestos at the constituency level. At least I know that they did for Delhi elections. So what are the main issues in your constituencies, and what are your promises?
Yeah, in Delhi we had, in 70 assembly constituencies, we had 70 local manifestos. Here, when it comes to a Lok Sabha election, we cannot have that so easily. But the type of issues that people face, that depends upon the section of people we are engaged with. So on the one hand, there is the basic entitlements that would include drinking water, housing facility, health facility, education facility, and so the basic entitlements is one category. For working women, as I mentioned, it will be safe transport and safe just working conditions. For small-scale industrialists, it will be the question of corruption. For small-scale businessmen also, it's a question of corruption, how to fight that corruption. So there are, based upon the segment of society that we are dealing with, we have naturally come to know their demands and we are focusing on them.
Okay, that is excellent, sir. So one of the good things about NRI Samay is most of the listeners, they are socially and also politically very aware of what's going on in India. So if you would like to ask them for any kind of support, what would it be, and how can people engage in your campaign and support?
Well, I think there are different ways. NRIs must tell their families in India to vote for Aam Aadmi Party. We are all over India standing in more than 400 constituencies. And in Karnataka, for example, we are contesting all the parliamentary constituencies. So one is to electronically join the campaign. The other is, of course, money itself. We need a lot of donations from people. And so that is also welcome. Our friends will tell you how you can donate. You can send it through wire transfer, etc., and give us the details so that we can display the details on the website. Yeah, and then what are the other ways in which you can help? I think if any of you are passing through India, please make sure that you get in touch with the nearest Aam Aadmi Party office. And above all, I think it is, money for the campaign, and also I have a feeling that if there is enough of monetary support, our campaign quality will go up much more, because there are basic needs for which you see, unlike other parties, we did not have a kitty from where we can draw. We are raising money every day and spending money every day. So it's like a hand-to-mouth exercise.
Yeah. I think this is a monumental task, especially for somebody who is entering into politics without backing of either big corporations or big political families.
Yes.
So what you have taken is an incredible journey, and we wish you good luck, and we wish you success.
Thank you very much. I must add a last line to say the best part of Aam Aadmi Party's public policy position was that no candidate shall spend a single rupee from his own pocket. And that is meant to convey the message that these mainstream party guys, whatever money they spend in crores, they see it as an investment only to make sure that they get a return which is many times more than the investment they make through black money. So this is a happy election reform which is going on in practice, and I think that itself is a major contribution for the future of democracy in India.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that encourages more good people to come into the politics without worrying about their personal finances, because what Aam Aadmi Party is saying is that as a public should kind of fund the elections and campaign expenses.
Yes.
So Babu Mathew ji, thank you very much. It's nice talking with you.
Thank you to you, to the organizers, and to all the NRIs who are abroad. Please remember that when you come back, you will have a better India if Aam Aadmi type of politics gathers momentum. And I am sure that there is a bright future for this party and therefore for democracy in our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Friends, if you liked today's show, please go to youtube.com/NRI Samay and click on the subscribe button. You will get notified every time we publish a new show. And you can also like us on our social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, and Google+.